What's the best relationship advice you've ever gotten? My uncle grabbed me at a barbecue after I got engaged and said, "Stop trying to win arguments with your wife because every time you win, you're losing everything." I laughed it off, but he grabbed my arm hard and said, "I'm serious. I almost lost everything before I learned this." So I got married and ignored his advice. My wife and I would fight about everything. Who forgot to buy milk, whose turn to do dishes, how we spent money. I'd always have to win because that's how my dad raised me. Never back down, never admit you're wrong. I'd build cases with evidence and destroy her arguments every time. She'd go quiet and I thought I won, but she was dying inside. 8 months into the marriage, we had a huge blow up over money. Her sister was going through a rough divorce and needed $2,000 to get back on her feet. My wife wanted to help her, and I said absolutely not because her sister made bad choices and that's not our problem. I laid out this whole argument about personal responsibility and not enabling bad behavior. I even had spreadsheets showing how it would hurt our savings. I presented my case like a lawyer and I won the argument. She didn't send the money. 2 days later, I came home early from work and found her packing a suitcase. I was completely shocked. I asked what she was doing and she looked at me with this empty expression and said, "I can't do this anymore." I said, "Do what?" And she said, "I can't be married to someone who needs to win more than he needs to love me." She told me that every time I won an argument, I made her feel worthless and stupid, like her thoughts and feelings didn't matter. She said it reminded her of how her father treated her mom before she left him, and that's why she cut him off years ago. That word, father, hit me like a freight train. I wasn't like him. I wasn't a bully. I was just right. I tried to argue with her and explain I was being logical, and she said, "There it is again. You can't even let me leave without trying to win." She walked out. I sat there in our empty apartment alone, thinking I'd won every single argument but lost everything that mattered. I called my uncle at 2 a.m. sobbing. He said, "I knew this would happen because it happened to me. When he was young, he was exactly like me. He had to win every argument, had to be right about everything. His wife left him after 3 years and filed for divorce. He spent 6 months trying to win her back with logic and arguments until he finally stopped being right and just admitted he was completely wrong. She agreed to try again, but only if he proved he could actually change. He said it took 2 full years to break that need to be right, and it almost killed his ego, but it saved his marriage. I called my wife and said, "I'm sorry for making you feel the way your father made you feel. If you give me a chance, I'll prove I can change." She said, "I need to see it, not hear it." She came back and we tried counseling. It was brutal. My instinct was to defend and argue, but every time I started, she'd get this look like she was ready to leave. So I forced myself to listen and admit when I was wrong. It felt like dying. Like every time I said "you're right," my ego shattered. But then something changed. She started smiling again. She touched my hand when we talked. She looked at me the way she did when we first met. I realized all those wins were just me destroying the person I loved. 4 months in, her sister needed $1,500 for rent. My wife asked if we could help. My old instinct kicked in, but I looked at my wife and saw she was nervous, waiting for me to shoot her down. This was the test. So I said, "Yes, let's help her." She started crying and said, "Thank you for trusting me." Fast forward 10 years. We have twin boys. Last year, my uncle passed away. At his funeral, his wife pulled me aside and said, "That story he told you, what he didn't tell you is when I left him, I was 3 months pregnant and he didn't know. I almost didn't tell him because I couldn't bring a child into a home where I felt worthless every day. When he changed, I told him. He broke down sobbing because he realized he almost lost both of us." She said, "That baby was your cousin who died 5 years ago. Your uncle spent 40 years being the best husband because he never forgot how close he came to losing everything." I went home and told my wife everything. She held me and said, "I was 3 months pregnant when I packed my bags too. I never told you because I wanted to see if you'd change for me, not for a baby. When you did, I knew we'd be okay." I asked why she never told me, and she said, "Because you needed to learn to lose the little battles so we could win the big war together. If you knew about the baby, you might have changed for the wrong reasons." Now when I see couples arguing, I want to tell them that being right is the most expensive thing you'll ever buy because the price is everyone you love walking away.